The power and grace of the Porsche GT3 Canada Series returns to the streets of Toronto. This concrete playground will play host to the most successful single-mark series in the history of motorsport. Two young Canadian talents have been dominating the North American GT3 landscape over the past couple of months. British Columbia's Scott Hargrove has been trading the top step of the podium with Toronto's Daniel Morad. Both with an aggressive eye on the 2016 championship. But the rest of the field is not going to let them get off easily. It's back to the tight confines of a street circuit here at Exhibition Place in Toronto for the Ultra 94 GT3 Cup Challenge Canada presented by Yokohama. The streets of downtown Toronto have been transformed into a world-class street racing circuit. Hello and welcome to the Toronto Indy Street Circuit. I'm Dave Bradley along with Kyle Marcelli, Todd Lewis's trackside. Kyle, Toronto is a lot different from most sport or even Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. These walls can really come up quickly and bite you in a hurry. Yeah, they sure can. You know, this street circuit requires a lot of respect for the car, a lot of respect for the track. You can get into trouble quickly. You need to take your time building speed before you can push the limit of these cars. Now remember, there have been little tweaks and changes to this track, especially through 9s, 10, and 11 turns. Yeah, when I last drove this circuit, that part of the track was very fast, very flowing, exciting. Now it's going to be very difficult to run 2x2. Well, the drivers are getting locked in and ready to get race 8 in the books, but earlier our Todd Lewis caught up with the gentlemen who make up the front row.
Scott Hargrove is starting today's race on pole position. How do you approach corner number 1? How do you approach the race today to round out the weekend?
Yeah, well, yesterday I think we learned a little bit in turn 1. I actually had a Chris Green come up the inside and I lost the lead for maybe 2 seconds, and then I was able to come back underneath and get the lead back, and then was able to check out to a 10-second lead before the car unfortunately let me down. But today we're hoping for just the same thing, try to just work the same lines, everything the same as yesterday, and see if I can continue that and get the victory today.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Scott Hargrove looking for victory after a tough day yesterday. It has been a seesaw battle all season long. They've been trading victories, Scott Hargrove and Daniel Morad, who's been doing double duty this weekend, but back in the GT3 Cup car. Great victory yesterday. Do you try to go for the sweep and be aggressive?
You know, we'll see. I did that in Toronto, or at CTMP in the first race, and Scott ended up running us off the road. So I think I'm going to play it probably a bit more safe. We'll see. Points make prizes. I'm leading the points by 5 now. I just need to stay in this position. I'm in the driver's seat, so I'm a little less sore than I was yesterday after jumping on the NASCAR. My shoulder was sore from the H pattern, but yeah, I'm looking forward to today. I think it's my first time going from the Porsche back into the Porsche straight, so now I've driven the car twice in a row. I should be a little bit quicker today.
Going to be fun for us to watch. Good luck today.
Thank you.
And Kyle, you heard the comments from Daniel Morad talking about that first race at CTMP. A little bit of bitterness there, maybe.
Yeah, and much like Todd said, it's going to be fun to watch. It's rare you see a rivalry like this in any championship. Reminds me a lot like Lauda and Hunt or Senna and Prost. So really exciting for today's race. Let's see how they make out.
Starting third today is the factory driver, 32-year-old from Montreal. Todd caught up with him.
Chris Green is back with us this weekend, the defending series champion, not running the full season, but is participating here on the streets of Toronto. Talk about being back on this tough, tricky course.
It is a tough track. I mean, that's what makes it so much fun, is that it's challenging for us. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a huge field in the Porsche Series this weekend, but it's very competitive. I love to be here. My new home crowd. It's a big event for FAF Porsche, Castrol, all of our sponsors, friends, family, fans, everybody's out here this weekend. So above and beyond the on-track bumpy action, I mean, this is really cool to be here.
So since you're not running for a championship this year, does that mean you're going to be a little more aggressive?
I don't think aggressive is necessary today. I mean, obviously the guys in the front are going to be playing aggressive. I don't want to interfere with anybody's championship. Of course, we want to go and win. We have a car to win. The FAF guys have done such an incredible job putting this car back together for me after yesterday's mishap. And you know what? I think I'll use aggression where I need it. And if I don't need to use it, then I think I'm looking forward to some clean racing like I had with most of the people yesterday.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Poised and mature is Chris Green. And there's the call to fire your engines here on the front straightaway at the Honda Indy Toronto, ready for the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Canada. Since our last event at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, it's been the Scott Hargrove Daniel Morad show. The open road racing entry of Hargrove won both events in Montreal as both the U.S. and Canada GT3 Series combined events. Now both the U.S. and Canadian teams then went on to Watkins Glen, New York, where this bad wreck in turn number 6 took out many challengers. You can see the wreckage there. In the end, Platinum Cup driver Daniel Morad brought his Allegra Racing Porsche home to victory. The Canada Day weekend celebration continued with Scott Hargrove driving to victory in the 6th race of the 2016 calendar, but it wasn't easy. He faced challenge after challenge by Daniel Morad in the number 17 as they even touched on occasion. And there was a big incident in this one as well. You see the Gold Cup driver of Sean McKeag backing it into the wall, but there is Hargrove taking victory in Watkins Glen. And yesterday in Toronto, the number 28 of Hargrove enjoyed a comfortable lead until his Porsche came to a stop. Daniel Morad, as a result, was handed his 3rd win of the season and takes the points lead.
Yeah, that's right. Just getting to the halfway point of the championship here. It's exciting to see the fight between these two competitors. Championship points are in mind right now. They need to be really aware of that during the balance of the season. Robichon's not far behind.
Yeah, and it's still a chance to make up those points in the latter half of this season. As the cars get rolling here on the front straightaway at Exhibition Place, looking to be another great event. This track always lends itself well to very active racing. Lots of good passing spots, and we'll have a number of good onboard shots to show you throughout this race, including this one from Andrew Danilou.
Yeah, that's right. I caught up with Andrew before the race, and he's really getting comfortable with this GT4 car. There's a new spring and damper package that he's testing this week, and we'll see how he does here today.
And of course, the GT4s made their debut at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Hargrove and Morad will make up row number 1. There's Chris Green rolling off 3rd. Zachary Robichon, the 78, he'll start in 4th on the outside of row 2. Row number 3 has Marco Cerrone in the 88. In the Masters class, Tim Sanderson, the 07, will start alongside him. Row number 4, Ori Fidani drives the number 13, and Sean McKeag, driver of the 34. Row 5 has Martin RV in the 08, and Andrew Danilou drives the 38. That's the first of the GT4 cars. Row number 6 is Gerald Panetton in the 57. Bruno Ciappinotti drives the 03, and that rounds out the field. So they'll scrub the tires, build some heat in those Yokohamas before we get set for green. Let's check in with Todd with more on today's start.
As we get set to go green here in Toronto, a shout out to Chris Green's team who pulled an all-nighter to get that car ready. Hard contact yesterday. Chris told me that everything forward of the windshield was off the car. Put it back together. He's set to go this afternoon. Said he owes the team a big steak dinner after the race tonight. Also, IMSA has informed teams a little bit of water on the backside part of the course. Watch as they go through the first couple of laps.
Does that weigh on your mind, Kyle, as you come up to the green?
Yeah, you know, this is a single bank championship. They say you can't win it in the first corner, but in a series like this, where the cars are so close, that first corner matters.
The field bunching up as it exits turn number 11. President and CEO of Porsche Canada, Alexander Pollich, with the green in hand. It waves, and we're underway in Toronto.
Oh, look at this. We got Morad squeezing Hargrove right to the inside of the corner, being real aggressive early on.
Robichon way out on the outside, and that'll cost him a position as Cerrone ducks to the inside. Chris Green hanging in 3rd spot as the field makes their way down the back straightaway for the first time. Listen to that sound, though. That is so cool. And here comes Morad to the outside. Hargrove with a wiggle into 3.
Oh, that was a great attempt. Keep in mind, the tires are still cold. This is lap 1, so these guys are going to have to really sort of find that limit and balance the car.
How long does it take to build the proper heat in these tires and in these brakes?
In a street circuit like this, it could be 2 or 3 laps before they start getting some decent temperature in the tire.
On board with Chris Green in the Pfaff Porsche as he chases the top 2. Daniel Morad and Scott Hargrove. Hargrove in the open road Porsche, the number 28, is your race leader in the early going. There is the full field as they work their way around the street circuit on Exhibition Place single file. Now that's the new complex of corners. Turns 9, 10, and 11. You can see how tight it is. It's really a single file lane now.
Yeah, certainly a little more technical than it used to be. You can just see the bumps on the front straightaway and in the brake zones. It's going to be difficult for these drivers to avoid lockups. Remember, there's no anti-lock brake system on these cars.
And the bumps in the braking areas, that has to be the hardest, especially turn one is a great passing zone.
Absolutely. You know, they're going to be managing lockups, also the downshifts, right? They don't want to be chattering the rear end too much as well. Otherwise, they'll get out of control in the brake zone.
Saw a quick flash of Chris Green as he continues to chase Hargrove and Morad. There is Zachary Robichaux. Problems for Green now as he goes around in turn number 3.
Now, it's tough to say whether he had help or maybe this was just on a downshift.
And you can see the car all patched up from yesterday's race as he's waiting for the field to go by. Now it finally does. He's going to have to do a quick 3-point turn, but this is time wasted.
Oh, that's so frustrating, and it just feels like an eternity.
And you can hear his frustration in the aggression on the throttle pedal. So now it's the top 2 with a little bit of space in behind as Morad is glued to the back bumper of Scott Hargrove.
Yeah, and you wonder what's going through Morad's mind right now. Does he want to get the lead early, or is he just going to sit back and wait and try to force Hargrove into a mistake?
We've talked about the history between these two drivers. The Porsche Center Oakville driver, Daniel Morad, has made contact with the Porsche Center Langley driver of Scott Hargrove.
Well, he's got a real good run on him here now. Certainly Hargrove's mirrors are filled.
And Hargrove using that defensive line to the inside. But here goes Morad up to the outside, locks it up.
There's that lockup I was talking about earlier. You know, you really got to be aware of the bumps and the brake zones. He's done a nice job getting the car turned around quick.
Beautiful donut from Daniel Morad. He'll tuck into 5th spot behind the 07 of his teammate Tim Sanderson and the Porsche Center Oakville sponsored Porsche just ahead of him, sister car.
Now, knowing Morad's up for a points championship here, you'd think Sanderson's going to move aside and let his teammate go by. We'll see what happens.
Have another look at this, riding on board the 17 of Daniel Morad.
Yeah, you can hear a bit of the differential there locking up just late in the brake zone. You wonder if that was a factor of the bumps. It looks like the downshifts actually came in late in the phase of the brake zone as well.
Such a quick decision, though, in that runoff area. He hadn't even slowed down, and he started to pull that donut to get back in the field. And we can tell you, too, that the number 9 of Chris Green has pulled his car into pit lane, so his day is done early.
Ah, that's frustrating for those guys. You know, they put in a long night. I think it was all night, actually, getting that car put together. And he's usually a front runner, so hopefully later on in the season we'll see that car up front again.
There's a couple gold class cars battling nose to tail. The 34 of Sean McKaig and the 08 of Marte RV as they head down the back straightaway.
Now, these guys have had a good fight all season long, swapping positions, so great to see that we're seeing that again here today.
And of course, that's a race within the race. That's a battle for top spot in the Gold Cup class. And RV is going to take over top spot. He dives it deep, but he hangs on to it in the 08. Solid pass by the driver of the McDonald's Porsche.
Yeah, very clean pass and good heads-up driving by Sean as well. That, you know, true gentleman out there, and let's see if he can get the spot back.
But Harvey, the man from Berthierville, Quebec, is coming in with the most momentum in the Gold Cup class. He won both races at Watkins Glen in that class. So he's the man with the hot hand as you see the Chris Green car getting pushed off behind the wall.
Yeah, these guys are gutted. I'm sure they're just exhausted after last night's work. And, you know, what a shame here today in front of a home crowd.
Both a home crowd for the car owner and for the driver. So they're out, but there's a lot of drivers still in, including Daniel Morad, who's trying to make ground back up to the front of the field in the 17, currently locked into battle with the 88 of Marco Cerrone, but Hargrove continues to lead. This Porsche Canada GT3 event is brought to you by Porsche. And for all the latest news and updates, visit Porsche.ca/GT3 Cup. Race leader Scott Hargrove from British Columbia has a comfortable lead here on the streets of Toronto behind the wheel of the open road Porsche number 28, and he's just hitting his marks now. Smooth driver down the back straightaway.
Yeah, he sure is. I mean, he doesn't have any pressure behind him, so it's almost a relaxed drive. He's just got to focus on being consistent and not making any mistakes, and this race is his.
Now he built up, as we talked about on the off the top of the show, he had built up a 10-second lead over the rest of the field in race number 1. Unfortunately, mechanical problems took him out of that, as you see Zachary Robichon, the rookie in this series, behind the wheel of the Mark Motors number 78. Sitting in second spot is Zachary Robichon, moving up from his 4th place starting spot. You remember, he has a win to his credit already in 2016. That came in the opening weekend at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, Zachary's really impressed me this year. You know, he started off in the single-seater ranks from the Ford 1600. Now here he is in the Porsche GT3 Cup and doing a great job. Already got a victory this year.
Yeah, looking very, very comfortable behind the wheel of a roofed-in car for the first time. He's never had a roof over his head.
He's dealing with a lot more temperature, I can tell you that.
There you see the future of this series is the Porsche GT4. It's the Cayman Club Sport cars. You see the lower rear wing. That's a good indication of what they are mixed in with this field. But as I mentioned, it really is the future.
Yeah, this car comes straight from the factory as you see it. You know, great for the gentleman driver or an amateur driver sort of wanting to get his feet wet in this Porsche Cup Series. Again, catching up with Andrew earlier, some changes have been made to the springs and dampers, and it looks like that car is a lot more comfortable to drive now.
Yeah, it's only the second showing of 2016 for the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport here at Toronto. So they're doing well, learning a lot, and there you can see the second driver behind the wheel. That's Gerald Pennington from Terracotta in the 57. And he came second in both races at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as Robichon gets a little crossways here in the 78. Take a look back a little bit deeper in the field. This is the battle for top spot in the Gold Cup class. You see the yellow mirrors. That's the 08 of Martin RV and the 34 of Sean McKay.
Yeah, Sean's not letting him get away, still putting the pressure on. Good to see.
That's a battle for 7th place overall in this race. Again, as we mentioned, it's a race within a race with the Platinum Cup cars generally a little bit quicker. These are the older 911s involved in the same race, essentially.
And I mentioned earlier the heat, you know, especially on a street circuit like this, not only the drivers are dealing with a lot of heat inside the cabin, these cars will be 140, 150 degrees Fahrenheit inside, so you could just imagine what that's like, plus you're wearing a snowsuit. But also the cars, I mean, you know, on a street circuit like this, the brakes are really going to be getting hot, so they need to manage their brakes and ensure they got proper cooling.
The brakes are up to temperature. The tires are getting hotter as well, but these Yokohamas seem to be holding up very well to this Toronto street circuit. One driver who's out earlier than he wanted to be, the driver of the factory, Pfaff Porsche, and Todd standing by with him.
Chris Green, sorry to see you here along pit lane after such a hard and long night for the team. What's the issue?
Yeah, I mean, obviously gutted for the guys. They worked so hard. They pulled them all night to get this car back together, and there's obviously something that we missed. Drivetrain issue. It probably has to do with the clutch. I mean, just had no feel and just couldn't get the car into drive. It put me into a spin, and I just kind of limped it back to the pit lane. So obviously they're looking to try to figure out what it is, but it's unfortunate because we're in a good position to do well today, and we had a good car coming into the race, so we'll get them next time.
See you at Trois-Rivières.
Thanks.
He knows how to get it done. A past champion in this series and was just waiting for his opportunity to strike.
Yeah, that's right. And here we see the 17 of Daniel Morad made his way back into 3rd now. We'll see if he can find Robichon, who's next up the grid.
You know what? Can he use the experience he gained in a NASCAR Pinty Series car here on this very same surface? You heard him talk about it off the top of the show. He had a lot of fun in there, but what can you learn from that car and take to this car on the same surface?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I mean, the cars themselves are apples and oranges, but what he can do is learn the street, learn the track. You know, this is a street circuit, and nobody can get additional test time here, so the more track time you get, the better.
Yeah, Daniel Morad, though, sitting in 3rd spot, has a lot of ground to make up to catch Scott Hargrove, who continues to lead. He really needs a caution, but unfortunately in this series, full course cautions don't happen very often. And here's a look at Morad's foray into the NASCAR Pinty Series, and this was the initial drop of the green. Morad taking a turn up at the front of the field. Here he's passing former champion Andrew Ranger.
Yeah, that's impressive to see. You know, I'm happy to see Morad got this drive this weekend. It was a one-off. I don't think he expected it. Great to see he did well.
And he was a last-minute replacement. Car owner Carlos de Quesada owns his car in the Porsche GT3 Cup Series, owns that car in the NASCAR Pinty Series. Unfortunately, hurt his back. He decided to put Morad in there, and Morad just really took to it like a fish to water. And right now, it's Scott Hargrove well in control here on the streets of Exhibition Place in Toronto, Ontario, as he goes to work in his office. He's well out in front of Zachary Robichon. Welcome back to the 8th round of the 2016 Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada, presented by Yokohama. I'm Dave Bradley, joined by Kyle Marcelli in the booth, and Todd Lewis is patrolling the pits for us here today. Scott Hargrove continues to lead Zachary Robichon, but Daniel Morad in the 17 is coming.
You see all the blue flag waving there. That's just to notify the 38 that a faster car is coming up behind.
Andrew Danilou, a little bit lower horsepower Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport to the inside. Here goes Morad into turn number 3. This is where he had his problem early in the race. Missed that braking point, and he had to play catch up from here.
We're getting a real driver's eye look here. You can see a very narrow circuit. Patience is required.
Look at his focus in his eyes. You can see where he's looking, where he wants to go. And it must be getting warm in that car. The visor's up, getting some air to the face of the driver as well.
Yeah, I know personally, I mean, myself in the closed cockpit car's heat is the most challenging thing to deal with, especially as a Canadian.
And of course, Daniel Morad is a driver who started in the open wheel ranks. He raced for a little bit in Europe. He's raced in Formula Atlantics as well, and now he's in a closed cockpit car. Last year, his first opportunity in the Porsche GT3 Cup, and he's done very, very well. A runner-up in this series last year, and here he is with a points lead in round number 8. Love that sound down Lakeshore Boulevard. A road that's normally packed with cars on a regular day here in Toronto. It's wide open and it's fast in a Porsche GT3 Cup car.
Now you see Morad, he's closed the gap to Robichon. I wonder if the team has notified Zachary of that, if he needs to turn up the wick. We'll see what happens here with a little over 25 minutes remaining in the race.
And it's a 5-second gap between Robichon and Daniel Morad. Scott Hargrove with a little over 10-second cushion in the lead over the 78 of Zachary Robichon. But really, when Daniel Morad went off in turn number 3, did this race just turn into damage control as far as points are concerned?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I mean, you have a couple of different types of drivers, and you can see Daniel here. He's just got that never-give-up attitude. He went off early in turn 3, could have settled in for a podium, but he's still pushing hard right now. He wants to get that second place.
Battle for 4th and 5th there, as they're very, very close together. Marco Cerrone in the black and green, number 88. And Sanderson in the 07 took a look through this tight complex of turns. 9, 10, in through 11 onto the front straightaway as Danilou just ahead in the 38. He'll be seeing the black or the blue flag this time by.
Yeah, Cerrone did not want to see that traffic. He's got his mirrors filled now with Sanderson, and you can see here he's looking to the inside.
Oh, Cerrone missed the apex by a long shot in that time as the two Masters cars battle nose to tail. That's Cerrone and Sanderson. Cerrone, a 3-time reigning Masters champion, racing in the Platinum Series.
I'm impressed with Sanderson. You know, he doesn't have a whole lot of experience in a Platinum car. He started his championship runoff in the silver class 3 years ago, I believe. Moved up to the gold, and now here he is in a Platinum car and doing a great job with Marco Cerrone.
There's a good look at the leader in the Gold Cup class, the 08 of Martin RV, and there's his lead. On second place, Sean McKaig in the 34. You saw the white with blue and green stripes. That was the 34 of McKaig as we take a good close look at the McDonald's-sponsored 08 of Martin RV.
lane's done a nice job actually putting a gap on Sean after making a clean pass early on. You know, again, this place is just about running clean, consistent laps.
There goes Sanderson past the 88 of Cerrone, turn number 1, as you saw the Prince's Gates just in the background. And Sanderson now moves to 4th spot. A solid move, and he almost had him there the lap before.
Again, yeah, he's driving very well. You can see he chose a defensive line early on in the brake zone.
Can Cerrone get him back in turn number 3? Another great passing opportunity. Not close enough.
Still 23 minutes left in this race. Lots of time to make a move. Cerrone's just got to be patient, wait for the right opportunity.
And the beauty of these Yokohama tires is they really don't fall off all that much, do they, Kyle?
Yeah, certainly, Dave. I caught up with some of the drivers earlier in the championship, and they've been really impressed with the longevity of this tire.
Well, this battle continues to rage on. It's for 4th spot. Sanderson has it. Cerrone wants it. Now, coming into this race weekend, Cerrone was leading the Masters Class Championship by 12 points over the 07 of Sanderson. So this will be a good points day for Sanderson if he can hang on.
Yeah, we're seeing great battles all the way through the grid. That's great for the series, great for the sponsors, and great for the fans.
Well, you can see packed grandstands here at Exhibition Place as Scott Hargrove very, very comfortable in the open road Porsche GT3 Cup car at the front of the field. He continues to lead as he has since the drop of the green. Welcome back to race number 8 of the 2016 Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada presented by Yokohama. There is your race leader, Scott Hargrove from British Columbia. And looking behind him, you can see nobody. That's because he has no pressure. That is your second place driver, the number 78 Mark Motors Porsche of Zachary Robichaux. And he does have some company as Daniel Morad in the Porsche Center Oakville, number 17 is closing that gap. Well, one driver is missing from today's race, Valerie Chasson. We had a chance to speak with her earlier.
Had a really bad crash in Walkington, so we decided, you know, because the schedule is really tight, to test the car before the next races, and it was not possible for this weekend. So hopefully everything was fine, and see you in River.
And there you can see Valerie Chasson with a badly damaged race car, so they wanted to get some testing time, and that's pretty important before you take your car out onto race speeds, especially high speeds like Lakeshore Boulevard here in Toronto.
Yeah, wise decision. I mean, you always want to be able to shake down the equipment prior to the race.
And we can tell you now the gap between second and third. Zachary Robichaux is in second. Third place is Daniel Morad, but that gap has now shrunk. It's 3.5 seconds. It was a full 5 seconds not too long ago, but as that has happened, Scott Hargrove has built up his lead up to a full 12.5 seconds now.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Allegra Motorsport guys are giving that information to Morad that, you know, you're closing X number of tenths per lap. Keep up that pace. That's what we need to get second position, knowing there's 15 minutes left.
What does that do for you as a driver when you hear your crew come on and say, you're catching them, keep going?
Oh, that just inspires a ton of confidence, especially when you know the pace you're running. You can just keep on running those consistent laps.
Into lap traffic, though, is Scott Hargrove now as he's right on the back bumper of Andrew Danilo. Danilo nearly pulls to a stop to get out of the way as Hargrove squirts through. That cost him a lot of time, though, as he heads into turn number 1. But you can see there was the speed difference between the Platinum Cup cars and the GT4 cars of the Cayman Club Sports. Just in behind there, the 08, that's your Gold Cup class leader, Martin Harvey from Berthierville, Quebec. Trying to catch the draft from the GT4 cars. He'll duck to the inside to make a pass into 3, locks it up, and here goes Harvey.
Not what he needed. He had a nice gap built on Sean McKagan here. He may lose that position. Sean's really closed the gap on him now, and I'm sure that's going to inspire just that bit more aggression in Sean.
Well, there you see Sean. There's the 34, the white and blue. The Gold Cup car right in behind there, nose to tail now. The battle's back on in Gold Cup.
This is exactly what Sean wanted. Again, lots of time left in the race. Anything can happen. he's going to be fired up to make a move and get that spot back.
And when you spin the car like Martin RV did in turn number 3, and you see the flashing lights, maybe you can tell us, is that a problem with the car, Kyle?
No, Dave, not at all. It's actually just the contrast in the light. It's a common misconception, though. Sean does not see those flashing lights right now. We just see them on television.
So that's good. Good to know. The driver will be focused on trying to make a pass and not focused on flashing lights in front of him. But with a spin like Harvey had, is that going to affect the handling of the car for a couple laps as everything's heated up?
Well, it depends how big of a flat spot he may or may not have in the tires. If he had them rate locked up and he flat spotted them, he's going to have a good vibration in the car right now. Otherwise, he might be okay. He certainly does have his mirrors filled, though.
Absolutely. As McKeag is coming, you see Scott Hargrove still with the lead, but he's lost a little bit of that ground. Now 11 seconds over Zachary Robichon, but Daniel Morad continues to pour on the pressure. Now within 3 seconds of the top spot as McKeag comes up to the back bumper of Harvey.
Yeah, as we get into the closing stages of the race, we're starting to come into lap traffic, and that's playing a role amongst all the classes in the battles for position.
So McKeag now looking for a way by, trying to get that run, and Harvey playing a little bit of defense, and this is why.
Yeah, looking at that, I mean, Martin had a nice gap built on Sean. He didn't need to rush that pass. In all honesty, he was a bit far back to make it happen, and it caught him out.
Have another look. This is from onboard Andrew Danilou. That's something you have to be worried about, too, when you have multiple makes or multiple class cars working on the same track together. You got faster cars and slower cars working together. You never know what's going to happen beside you.
Yeah, I've been on both sides of the fence myself between Le Mans prototypes and GT cars. It's certainly easier as the driver to be in the faster car and just watch forward. You know, these guys in the GT4 Caymans having to watch their mirrors and drive quick laps.
Welcome back to the Toronto Indy grounds in the streets of Exhibition Place for the Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada, presented by Yokohama. Scott Hargrove from British Columbia continues to lead, and he's been a busy man. The last 3 weekends in a row he's been racing, but not only in Canada, he's actually raced in 3 different countries. Picked up a first and a second at Watkins Glen, Kyle.
Yeah, great circuit and some stiff competition with both the American and Canadian series there.
That was really a huge field, a repaved circuit too, and that one has to be fun to drive in these cars.
Yeah, certainly is. Very quick and, as you said, very smooth with the new asphalt. Great for a Porsche Cup car.
And here's the beauty of the Porsche GT3 Cup. It's the same car that's raced around the world, and Hargrove went and raced rounds 5 and 6 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia at the Chang International Circuit in Thailand. Did very well there, too. Very comfortable in the car.
Yeah, and I still don't really know what time zone I'm in, but over there it went really great. Same thing, I had to adjust to the time zone. I had to adjust with a new team. Fortunately, it was the same car that I raced here, so I was very familiar. Just had to learn the track, and I came out with a second place and a win in on the final. So I'm just extremely happy about that, and thanks for Open Road for sending me over there.
Yeah, that's really cool to see. You know, he's got a lot of experience now in these cars internationally, and it's paying off.
And you can't really turn down an opportunity like that. They say, we're going to send you to Thailand to race cars. You cool with that?
Yeah, let me think about it.
Hargrove, obviously the experience paying off here. He's built up almost a 14-second lead now over Zachary Robichon, sits in second, and Daniel Morad is now under 3 seconds behind in third spot in the 17. Morad started on the outside of the front row, ran into trouble early. As you see, Hargrove is now catching the 13 of Ori Fidani.
Again, like I touched on earlier, in the closing stages of this race, we're seeing traffic play a role in the battles for position.
And the battle for the lead in the Gold Cup class as well between Martin RV and the 34 of Jean McKeag continues to be a solid one. RV with that spin in turn number 3 not too long ago, but McKeag hasn't had the opportunity to really capitalize just yet.
Yeah, great to see McKeag all fired up now, and he's really, really pushing, getting everything he can out of the 34 car. trying to get that position back. You know, Martin pulled away from him a little bit earlier, but now that he's got his sights back on the bumper, he's not letting up.
And let's ride on board with McKegg, give you a feel how this track and how rough it is. You can hear the bottom hitting the ground in turn 1.
You've heard of tunnel vision before. This is the definition of it here, doing 150 miles an hour down Lakeshore Avenue in between concrete walls.
Does it feel like those walls squeeze in on you the faster you get?
It sure does.
And of course, McKegg very, very successful so far in 2016. He has 3 wins already this season, but comes in just a 6-point lead on the driver, the 08, Martin RV.
See, now he can be aggressive and try to make a pass, or he can just try to fill the mirrors of Harvey and force him into a mistake. Let's see what happens here in the closing stages of this race.
And you have to talk about the driver of the McDonald's, number 08, Harvey, as he jumps on the brakes and continues to try and hold off Sean McKegg. Harvey's been very successful here on the streets of Toronto with 3 wins, including a pair of wins last year.
He seems to be very comfortable on this circuit, you know, much like some of the others on the schedule, like Mosport, where it's very fast and requires a lot of bravery. You know, this is a little bit more technicality, and we're seeing Martin do a great job here today.
Through the bumps into turn number 1, both navigate them very well. Another street circuit is next up on our schedule as you take a look at a little bit of trouble here for Gerald Panitson in the number 57. That's a GT4 Clubman car, and he managed to find the runoff and avoid a wall. Lucky there.
Yeah, good on him. I don't know what happened there, if he had a mistake on a downshift or just missed his brake reference, but he kept it off the walls and he's still in this race.
That's one of those catch your breath moments as you get into the runoff area, but car's in one shape and he's back in the field. As I mentioned, our next race will be on another street circuit, the Grand Prix at Trois-Rivières. And that's a great event. Very similar to this one, a very tough, very technical street circuit. So the crew's cheering on their teams as we get down to the final minutes here in Toronto. Riding on board your race leader, the number 28 of Scott Hargrove, as he works his way around the street circuit in Toronto, Ontario, downshifting into turn number 3. Love that sound as he jumps back up on the power in the Porsche GT3 Cup car. He has a significant lead, 13 seconds over the 78 of Zachary Robichaux, but Robichaux now about a second and a half clear of the 17 of Daniel Moran.
Yeah, Hargrove's out front, and he's just driven a perfect race. This was a great day for him, and he's got 3 minutes left on the clock. He just needs to click out a few more consistent laps, and this one's his. But great to see a good battle here for second in the closing stages. You know, Morad's going to be pushing real hard trying to get that spot.
And Hargrove has really done what he has needed to do. He had a rough race yesterday in round number 7 where mechanical problems took him out of the race. It really hurt him in the point standings, gave Daniel Moran the points lead. Hargrove needed to be perfect here today. On board the 17 of Daniel Moran on the front straightaway. And as they cross the line, you'll see the updated interval pop up on the top of your screen.
Yeah, just 1.7 seconds back now he is. Maybe 2, if not 3 laps remaining in this race.
But Scott Hargrove continues to lead. This is going to be the battle we'll watch as we work our way to the checkered flag here on the streets of Toronto. Ori Fideni flashes by in the red, or the yellow and black, number 13, and there is the Allegra, number 17 of Daniel Moran.
Now that traffic up ahead is not what Zachary wants to see.
0.4 of a second. Daniel Moran was quicker than Zachary Robichaux that last time by, so he does have the bit in his teeth, and he is coming. Battle in the Gold Cup class down the back straightaway. Martin Harvey and Sean McKegg still nose to tail. That's a battle for 7th spot overall. And McKeag hard under braking, closes the gap, but not quite close enough to make a move.
Yeah, what a great race. Again, all the way through the grid, we're seeing good racing, clean racing. Sean's just filling the mirrors of Martin. Let's see if he can force him into a mistake offline and capitalize on it, or if he can just be aggressive and put his car on the inside.
As a driver, racing that close is just plain fun, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. It's a lot more fun when you're the chasing car and you're the guy making the move. It's a little bit more, there's a little more pressure on you when you're the guy in front.
Wait, McKeag is really trying everywhere, trying outside, inside, trying to put together different runs. He's getting a little bit desperate here in the late going of this race as we just have under 2 minutes to go now. And look at that gap between Robichaud and Morad at the top of your screen. It's now under just over a second.
And here's Hargrove coming into some traffic again. He's at least got a big enough gap that it shouldn't affect him.
Yeah, he can take his time picking his way through traffic as Danilou pulls to the inside. Hargrove, concentration on the face of the driver, the number 28. And this will be the white flag shown to Scott Hargrove as he makes his way across the stripe. And McKeag, deep in braking, goes around in turn number 3.
That's a common thing we've seen here today. Guys locking up, going into the hairpin at the end of the back straightaway.
He had Harvey on the inside and just lost it under braking, so he must have tried a really deep Hail Mary pass on that one. There you see Robichaud now into lap traffic. The driver, the 78 in second. The 17 is Daniel Morad. And they're nose to tail down the back straightaway. Ori Fidani sees the blue flag. He'll pop up and out of the way. Morad looks to the outside. Robichaud, the Mark Motors number 78, maintains that second spot.
Yeah, that traffic really hurt him, though. You know, it shrunk the gap to nothing.
To the inside, takes a look, Daniel Morad. Scott Hargrove working his way through the final turns here in Toronto. Through 9, 10, he'll see 11 and get the congratulations of his crew that time by.
Great drive today by Scott.
He did everything he'll need to do, and Scott Hargrove will win it in Toronto. Morad has managed to get around the 78 of Robichaud. Second spot for Daniel Morad and picks up those all-important points. Robichaud takes a look down the final straightaway, but can't quite make the move as they'll finish nose to tail. Second and third, just 0.3 of a second between them at the line. What a dice they had. And there is the winner in the Gold Cup class. Marte Harvey out of turn number 11. He'll see the checkered flag as the winner here in Toronto. Sean McKeag will come home second, salvaging a second-place finish in that one. And Andrew Danilou picks up the win in the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport. So another weekend sweep for Danilou, and now let's look at this pass for second.
A nice move. He had no time to waste. He knew that as soon as he caught Robichaud, he's got to make the pass, and good job on Morad for getting it done. Heartbreaker for Robichaud, though.
In turn number 8, a tough corner to pass in, but Daniel Morad made it stick, avoided the tire wall, and hung on through the final set of corners. But the big winner here today is Scott Hargrove, as we'll talk to him in Victory Lane. A big hug from the Mark Motors team for Scott Hargrove as he takes the win here on the streets of Toronto. Mark Motors prepares that car, and Scott Hargrove took it right to the win. And here comes Carlos De Quesada from Allegra Motorsports. Let's go down to Todd in Victory Lane. Todd?
Scott Hargrove is out of the car. Helmet off. Congratulations from the team. This was the drive you were hoping for yesterday. You got it today.
Yeah, I did, and it was definitely exciting at the beginning. I think Daniel and me broke as late as possible into the end of the back straight, and I don't know what happened, but I looked behind me and I was alone, and then from there I was just concentrating on my laps. My car was just coming in at that point, and then from there I think we would have been untouchable anyway.
Did you think of yesterday with the big lead, hoping just get to the finish?
You have no idea how many noises I heard in the car today. I was just fingers crossed that the thing would hold together. I mean, it's so bumpy here. There's a bunch of clunking and clanging, but it held on and we got the win. So I'm happy, super happy, and thank you to Open Road and everybody, Best Line Auto Tech, for making it possible.
Scott Hargrove is the winner here on the streets at Exhibition Place.
And we'll take a look at the top 10 finishing order here in Toronto. You see Zachary Robichaux hung on for third. And how about that battle between Marco Cerrone and Tim Sanderson?
Yeah, that was an impressive drive by both of them, and good on Tim for getting a fourth place result.
Marte RV coming home the Gold Cup winner in 7th place overall. Let's go back down to check in with Todd.
Daniel Morad has an eventful race here at the streets of Exhibition Place. What happened in the incident, and then how hard did you charge back just to get second at the line?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I mean, the opening laps were incredible with Scott. Wheel to wheel, we were touching. I mean, that's what it's all about. Rubbins racing here on the streets of Toronto, and I mean, I just made a little mistake. I tried going for it. I mean, Scott gave me room. He drove a great race. I mean, he deserved the win yesterday. To be fair, he got it today. So we were good. I mean, I think better today than we were yesterday. After I made the mistake, I made a fight back, and my gosh, that was probably the drive of my life. I'm not sure if you guys got it on camera, but the move at the very end, oh my God, that was on the limit. I hit the wall a few times, but only cosmetic damage. So can't wait for the next one.
Daniel Morad with a hard charge back into second place.
And Hargrove with a hard charge in the points is eaten into that points lead from Daniel Morad. Now it's just 3 markers, so it is pretty tight.
Yeah, it sure is. Again, to talk about that rivalry, you don't see that too often in many championships. Real exciting for the series, exciting for the sponsors and the fans.
And we're going into another tight racetrack at Trois-Rivières, Quebec, the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières, and that's going to be a very, very exciting race. As we take a look at the podium, Hargrove, Robichaux, and Daniel Morad, your top 3 here today. And now let's head back down pit side with Todd, who's standing by with the winner of the Gold Cup class.
Martin Harvey is catching his breath after winning in the gold class. That was quite a drive out there.
Oh, it's a crazy race. When I passed the Cayman on the corner pin, and I'm turning around, and after we go on the track, by 4th hour, we have a flat, a boom, boom. Call my team. How many times you rest? 15 minutes. Oh my God. Okay, push. Anyway, I'm finished the race. Sean and me, his battle is fabulous, and I'm winning, and I wish. It's my 4th win on 2 years here.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
A happy guy, and he's done very, very well on the streets of Toronto, and it's time to spray the champagne. This round of the 2016 Ultra 94 Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Canada, presented by Yokohama, has been brought to you by Porsche. And for all the latest news and updates, visit Porsche.ca/GT3 Cup. So it's been an exciting afternoon on the streets of Toronto. The field was all lined up and ready to play nice, but that lasted about 30 seconds into the drop of the green as they made their way onto the front straightaway.
Yeah, we saw the aggression out of the front row right away, with Hargrove taking the lead into turn 1.
But Morad didn't let him go easily. Some rubbing and bumping NASCAR style heading into the turn number 1, and Hargrove came out on top. Morad started to give chase. Knowing how fast Hargrove has been this weekend, Morad knew he was going to have to make some brave moves in the early going, like this one on lap number 1 and turn number 3. It didn't stick, and unfortunately for Morad, he ran into trouble early and then had to give chase as Hargrove continued to open up a huge lead at the front of the field. A comfortable run for the driver of the open road Porsche number 28 Hargrove. Just hit his marks all the way to the checkered flag. Our next race will be the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. For Kyle, Todd, I'm Dave Bradley. From all of us at Fuel Media Lab, we'll see you next time.